All right, so much for all of these teams we thought were going to make a run. A lot of them got put right back in their place where they belong, and the Dallas Cowboys are one of them, and you can thank Bo Nix for that. We'll talk about that more here today on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open, and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What she said, it's your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of The Barbershop here on Locked On NFL, where we go around the National Football League and keep our finger on the pulse of the league by using the help of local experts. One of those experts is in studio with us, as always, on Monday. He is Julian Council of Locked On Panthers. He's going to be with us today as we go around the National Football League and do what we do. Shout out to the everydayers that join us each and every day. We appreciate you. We don't take your presence here for granted. And if you're new, thank you for coming and welcome in. We'll give you a reason to enjoy this episode like the one today that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Also, if you are here, you can be everywhere. That's right. No matter where you are, you can tap over in to Amazon Music and hear a version of our show that is ad-free. So make sure you do that. All right, Julian Council, here's what we're going to do. Patriots keep rolling along and top the AFC East. That's where we'll end up. Right smack in the middle of the show, the Packers finally had that game that people expect them to have after the first week, and they looked really, really good last night against the Steelers. But we're going to start with Bo Nix putting the Cowboys back in their place. I was wondering what was going to happen when all of that offense met up against all of that defense, and then the team that has all of that offense has absolutely no defense, and you saw it, 44-24. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, fifth time this season, Dallas is giving up 30-plus points in a game. You can't live like that in the NFL. You can't live like that in any really level of football nowadays. And it's great that they have Dak playing at a really high level and that they have CD and George Pickens and really nice tandem, but they can't stop anybody. And that's been a recurring issue. It feels like the last 3+ seasons until they fix that. And this is where Dallas is going to be, right there, smack dab in the middle of the NFL at 3-4-1.
And here's my man, Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and then I'll come back and tell you why having all that offense doesn't work for them and it doesn't work for somebody else, and that we're going to talk about them too. Watch this.
The Denver Broncos are 6-2, and they sit atop the AFC West with a dominant victory over Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, 44-24 here. Bo Nix and the Broncos offense putting up over 400 yards in this game, including over 180 rushing yards as a team, led by J.K. Dobbins. Coming into this matchup, too, one of the bigger stories was the high-octane offense here of Dallas, who's averaging 31 points per game. The Broncos defense holding them to 24 points in this matchup. But the biggest story here following a victory is the status of Patrick Surtain II, the reigning defending NFL Defensive Player of the Year, left the game in the first half. He did not return in the second half with a shoulder injury. We'll find out post-game locker room coverage what's going on with Pat here. But Denver victorious, top of the AFC West, 6-2.
Hey, man, they got a lot of DBs. They're going to need Surtain to make a nice run, so hopefully he gets back. But what this does show you is this. When you have a high-octane offense, yeah, you can beat a lot of teams because they just can't keep up. But when you run into a team that actually has a pulse on defense, and that's what their mantra is, no, it's going to take a little bit more than you being able to go and throw the ball down the field all the time.
Yeah, and don't look now. Denver's won 5 in a row, and they sit there at 6-2. And looking at the AFC West, I mean, it's still a dogfight with Kansas City rebounding where LA is sitting at right now. But yeah, Dallas, they have issues. The Micah Parsons trade, we're going to continue to look at that and wonder why Jerry would make that decision. And then last week, there were rumors about their interest in Max Crosby, which if you're going to go out and get Max Crosby, why not pay Micah Parsons and not allow that relationship to fracture and him to go within the same conference up to Green Bay? And the Packers, who we'll talk about later on, are looking pretty doggone good with Micah Parsons. So it's just weird, the decisions that Jerry makes at points and times and where Dallas sits right now to where they have a really good offense, but the defense, they have players like they have Trevon Diggs, and I mean, who obviously is having issues right now with the concussion. They have Deron Bland. They have Oso Zigazua. They have good players. It's just they're not being coordinated well at this point in time by Matt Eberflus, and you have to wonder if this can be a one-year kind of thing for him as the Cowboys DC, and then it's going to be a very important hire this offseason for Brian Schottenheimer to go bring somebody else in who can get these guys in line and performing to their talent levels on a week-in, week-out basis.
I want you to keep that part right there, because there's another team that thought it was their coordinator that's also an offensive-minded team that we're going to get to. But first, let's hear from Landon McCool from the losing Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys needed a near flawless performance to pull one out in Denver against the Broncos, and they did not get that. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and the Dallas Cowboys defense once again sinks the Cowboys' chances as they were basically unable to stop Denver at any point after getting an early interception and then giving up 44 points after that as the Cowboys offense was unable to keep pace, shot themselves in the foot with penalties, and got put into a negative game script early that really allowed Denver's pass rush to get after and really spiral this game out of control as the Cowboys lose an absolute slaughtering 44-24. There's a lot to unpack in this game. It really does kind of put a damper on the entire season at this point as you wonder where they can go from here. For more on this, make sure you guys check us out on the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
Man, you can mask it up. You can put on makeup. You can throw a wig on. You cannot hide when your lines of scrimmage, especially on defense, can't stop people. You can dress it up against bad teams or mediocre teams and teams that aren't prepared for your onslaught. But when it comes down to it, if you cannot limit a team from getting 180 yards plus rushing, there's no way you're going to win in the National Football League.
No, not at all. And if you can't stop the run, you can't stop anything in this league. And that's been something that J.C. Horn, Panthers cornerback, he said that multiple times over the last couple of years as Panthers have struggled themselves against the run like they did on Sunday in their loss against Buffalo. But you look at Dallas' schedule, they do have an opportunity to kind of right the ship here over the next 3 weeks. They have Arizona, who's lost 5 straight games this coming week. I believe that looks like that's going to be on Monday Night Football. So yeah, Arizona Monday Night Football next Monday, so they can beat Arizona. Bye week, then they have the Raiders, who are a disaster right now. So win those 2 games, you're at 5-4-1. The problem is after that, it's Philly, Kansas City, and Detroit. So they got to find a way over the next 3 weeks to get healthy, beat Arizona, beat Las Vegas, and then maybe figure something out defensively before they face off against a Philadelphia Eagles team who exploded finally on Sunday, and they've had their issues. We all know about that, but Kansas City, they figured it out. Detroit hasn't really missed a beat outside of week 1 with Ben Johnson now in division there with Chicago. So, yeah, Dallas, a lot to figure out over the next month and a half.
And I'm absolutely afraid to even think and imagine what that game against Detroit is going to look like. Not with that 2-headed monster and the way that they go get after it. You know what? If you don't like the Dallas Cowboys, circle that one and just go watch it and get you some popcorn, because you will have joy from watching somebody else have misery. All right, we're going to get into some teams. We talked about Michael Parsons, the team that he was traded to. They won the game last night and actually looked the part of all of the headlines that everybody's been giving them. And right behind them, we're going to talk about another team that's all offense, no defense. In fact, they fired their defensive coordinator and he's gone somewhere else, and they got like one of the best records, if not the best record in the National Football League. He has a lot to do with it. We're going to be talking about the Bengals as well as the Green Bay Packers in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, right? But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on any player projections, at least 2. And if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Yeah, if you'd have went more with Saquon Barkley yesterday after I told you he was going to play against the Giants last week, you probably would have won your whole bunch of money. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Today's show is also sponsored by Rougiette. That's right, man. It's Rougiette. Listen, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes, including the big dogs like me, right? But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making some moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started, right? You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Visit RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette.com/LockedOnNFL. And don't forget to use the code LockedOnNFL. So they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses, man, and start making moves. Here with Julian Council from Locked On Panthers. Running through the National Football League, we have discussed Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons played well last night. In fact, he's having an impact on the game. There's so many people trying to block him. Other people are making sacks and being able to cause a lot of mayhem. And I think that's the definition of impact. The Green Bay Packers, who had been considered one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league, hadn't really played like that since week 1. Remember, they lost to Cleveland. And since then, nothing that they've done is going to make people forget that they lost to Cleveland, except last night they played a game against their old player, Aaron Rodgers, and their young quarterback outdueled them to a certain extent. Here's my man, Peter Bukowski, talking about Jordan Love and the Packers win.
Jordan Love just put together a signature performance in front of Aaron Rodgers, his best game for my money as a pro, and the Packers played their best game of the season since week 1, because what I saw was Matt LaFleur all but abandon the run game until the end. Yes, Emmanuel Wilson gave them some really nice energy, some explosive plays. How about just 6 yards when 6 yards is blocked? That's nice too. Josh Jacobs, still the workhorse back, but Emmanuel Wilson gave them a little extra. But it was the quick passing game. And then that set up the big plays. 3rd down, just let Jordan Love go make a play.
Yeah, it looked like the Packers have finally figured out they're going to trust their quarterback. They get Watson, their receiver, back last night for the first time. Tucker Kraft was probably first-team All-Pro at tight end. It kind of came together for him last night a little bit, Jay.
Yeah, and looking at Tucker Kraft, it's going to be problems for Carolina on Sunday because they have not been able to defend tight ends. But yeah, Green Bay looked good offensively, and just all the young talent that they have there. This is Jordan Love's 3rd year, right, as a starter, which is just, it feels like it's been longer than that, but it's only his 3rd year. And Christian Watson's still young. Romeo Doubs is still young. They have so many young, and Kraft, of course, Musgrave, the other tight end, a lot of talent on that team. And like Green Bay is going to be a problem, it feels like, for a long time, as long as they're able to, retain the right guys. And Jordan Love obviously stays healthy. And the Packers now have a guy like Micah Parsons on the other side of the ball on a defense that could be the best defense in the league when it's all said and done this season. Like, they went out there, they barely ran the ball, as Peter mentioned, and they still were able to put up 35 points to whatever they wanted against Pittsburgh last night. So you look at them, sure, they haven't looked, I guess, as dominant as we thought they would after they downright embarrassed Detroit in week 1, but they still have only lost 1 game. Had the weird tie against Dallas on Sunday night, which You know, every time that happens, it's kind of just a gross feeling, but that's what happened in that game. But they have only lost one time, and they have looked like the best team in the NFC for my money for most of this season. So, yeah, I mean, Green Bay is pretty damn good. And Jordan Love, I guess, as Peter said, made a statement. And a lot of people, I know there's skeptics out there, maybe realize that he's actually a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, he is. But, you know, that first half last night, like they move around and they look pretty, but then they were losing. They were still down. And you're like, what is it? And then the second half, they really kicked it in. You know what it reminds me of? You know NASCAR. You do a lot of work with NASCAR. And I still don't know what these terms mean. You ain't got to tell us. But it seems like every time they used to talk to a NASCAR dude, when he says, yeah, I went around the other turn over here and I got a little loose. I don't know what getting a little loose means, but getting a little loose always coincides with things just kind of went funny for me a little bit. And I had to, that's the way they explain everything. So the Packers, they spent a lot of time getting a little loose, Julian. That's what they end up doing. But eventually they got it together when they needed to, and then they put it all together. So maybe that'll carry over for them. I know somebody who's a little loose. That's the Bengals. They all the way loose. In fact, it's like a loose shoestring. Like eventually they're going to trip and fall. We gave them a little bit of grace because Joe Flacco came in against those same Pittsburgh Steelers and went ballistic and found the fountain of youth last week. Did it again yesterday too. But guess what? His defense let him down. Oh, you mean the defense that also fired their defensive coordinator because he wasn't good enough. Now he's here in Indianapolis and they ain't lost but one game. Here is my man Jake from Locked On Bengals talking about the Bengals and their little, we'll just wait till Joe Burrow gets back. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, you're going to be waiting a long time because yesterday went a long ways in saying that ain't going to work. Check this out.
The Cincinnati Bengals simply have the worst defense in the NFL, period. You're up 2 touchdowns for a vast majority of the game, and you can't stop anything in the second half to the point where you score 38 points with Joe Flacco and need a game-winning drive. And Flacco comes up short in the end. Andre Josevich has a couple of targets on that last drive that he can't come down with. Tough catches that you need him to make, sure, but you give up 39 points to Justin Fields, the winless New York Jets, the Justin Fields offense without Garrett Wilson. You have no pass rush. You can't stop the run. It's literally the worst defense in the NFL, and I don't see how they can redeem themselves after this performance against this New York Jets team at home off a mini-bye. We'll have more on Locked On Bengals.
Boy, you talk about dumping the wrong cargo thinking you're going to fix the problem, and people aren't going to get past this loss. You know why, Julian? Because guess who it was?
The Jets. Yeah. You look at Cincinnati, this is just another example of a failed roster build on the defensive side of the ball. They have put a ton of resources offensively into, of course, Joe Burrow, who is outstanding, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They are spending the most money in the league, according to overthecap.com, on the offensive side of the ball. Vice versa, defensively, they're spending bottom 10 money on defense, and that's what they're getting. And a lot of that money is going to Trey Hendrickson. So you get what you're paid for at this point in time. And they have tried to cut corners as far as what they're going to do defensively, not pay guys like Jesse Bates, Trey Hendrickson, who they eventually have reworked his deal to keep him around this year. They have not invested on that side of the ball. So whereas in Dallas, they have the talent, just not the coordinator. And we saw what Eberflus did when he was up in Chicago the last couple of years. Clearly, he's a problem. Julian Council was not an issue. He was a big piece of their run to the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I understand Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and all of that, but man, what they had defensively as well, that was all in large part due to what Julian Council did as a coordinator. So they've made mistakes here as far as the hires at coordinator and the fact that they have not been able to build a quality defense to complement this offense. And it's just been the resource allocation has been weighted too far to the offense side of the ball. Now, I will say this for the Jets. I mean, a great win for them. And an emotional day for that organization as Nick Mangold passed away at the age of 41 due to kidney failure, and a guy who had asked a couple weeks ago for a transplant. And if you think about the Jets back the last time they actually were a winning football team, Nick Mangold is right there in the middle at center. I mean, a guy who was an excellent player at Ohio State, great player there at New York, and he exemplifies what it means to be a Jet. And for them to get that win on the same day we find out about his passing, it's honestly, it's a great thing to see. You got to remember, these are people, and I saw Rex Ryan, his emotions on ESPN in the morning. I can't stand listening to Rex Ryan talk, honestly, but to see him emotional, it really reminds you just like what this game of football is all about, and it's about the people. So obviously my thoughts go out to the Mangold family, the Jets family, of course, all the people at Ohio State as well. So great for them to get that win. And for Justin Fields, who was vulnerable with us as well, talk about how, he had been crying in his closet earlier this week. Just because they wanted to get a win. He wasn't worried about his situation. He just wanted to get a win, and they finally got a win. So good for those guys to get a win, and unfortunate, obviously, for Cincinnati and their own failures to lose to the Jets on Sunday.
I second your thoughts about Nick Mangold. Nothing talks about a person better than the way people speak about them when they're not present. And everyone, too, a man said that about Mangold. You mentioned that they got that victory yesterday because of Justin Fields, who also went to Ohio State. So well said, Julian. Thanks for that pull. We'll continue to keep the Jets, the fans, and the Mango family in our prayers here on Locked On NFL. We appreciate that. More to come here where we talk about, a story from New England that North Carolina Tar Heel fans probably aren't allowed to enjoy, even though they should be enjoying it. It's a recruiting tool to say he came from here, but because of Belichick and his mess, we can't even celebrate Drake Maye, but we're going to celebrate him here on Locked On NFL in just a second. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle, right? Between queues and login screens and prices jumping at checkout is very, very frustrating. I know y'all want to go to Vegas to watch the Jaguars. No better place to get your ticket than Game Time, because Game Time, the app uses and gives the advantage back to the fans. That's right. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So you ain't going to get all those surprises when you go check out and see all of those extra things sitting there trying to charge you. I pulled up Game Time, and it's just a couple of taps. I saw amazing deals about your favorite NFL teams and games as low as $100. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code is LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. And our show today is also sponsored by FanDuel, man. Listen, it's not just the NFL. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want, to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps everything so exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets. Win. Your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play the game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we at it, man. Still at it here on Locked On NFL. He is Julian Council and Tony Wiggins. We're running it down. We're going to talk about Drake Maye, man. I expected them to improve under Mike Vrabel up in New England. I did not expect them after 8 weeks to be sitting atop the AFC East, and that's exactly where they are. Shout out to them, and shout out to Nick Cattles, my man from Locked On Patriots. Check this out.
It was supposed to be the biggest challenge of Drake Maye's 2025 at this point, and all he did was have a perfect passer rating facing the Cleveland Browns defense. Look, Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in this game. The pass rush was there, but it didn't matter. Drake Maye was fantastic yet again. MVP level play continues. Mac Hollins was great. Ramondre Stevenson was great. Continue to follow along. Nick Cattles here, Locked On Patriots, Monday through Friday. We talk about the Pats every single weekday. You don't want to miss the very latest, including when we go live following games on Sunday. We'll talk to you soon on Locked On Patriots as the Pats improve to 6-2.
JC, this is the ultimate two things can be true at the same time. If someone would have woke me up yesterday and said, Drake Maye is going to have a perfect passer rating today against that Browns defense. And then somebody else, this is a perfect thing for social media too. Somebody else go, you crazy? They got a rookie left tackle. Myles Garrett going to have a career day. Both things happen. 5 sacks, but a perfect passer rating. Unreal by New England.
Yeah, how about that? And looking at the MVP odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook, Drake Maye has the third best MVP odds at plus 420 behind Josh Allen at plus 380 and Patrick Mahomes at plus 135. That is incredible.
Josh Allen still up there? Josh Allen is still up there?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
We ain't gonna get you started, but
at
least you can put the running back from what about Jonathan Taylor? Why is Josh Allen in the top 3?
Jonathan Taylor is not even. He is. Let's see. He is 9th in odds right now at plus 2,000 behind Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Drake Maye, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. We know Josh Allen's up there because we have to make sure he gets as many MVPs as Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So at the end of the day, we can say he's the GOAT. That's what's happening here. Whatever. But yeah, Drake's been great, and New England is in a position where I think they probably are going to win a division because you look at the schedule coming up, like Atlanta just got blown out by Miami, and I get it's a week-to-week league. My goodness, man. Tampa on the road will be a tough game. The Jets still are the Jets, even if they have that emotional win on Sunday. The Bengals, Joe Burrow won't be back at that point in time. The Giants, we'll see where they're at, losing Scadaboo. That's a tough loss for them. They're still not a good football team. They get the bye week. Then they have Buffalo at home. So I think that's important to have the bye right before Buffalo. But then you close out with, I don't know where the Ravens are going to be at that point in time, but you close out with the Ravens and the Jets on the road before having Miami at the end. I think they're in a great position. Yeah, I mean, they're playing a last place schedule.
Dude, they might. I only heard 2 games that they might lose. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they could lose any week. I would look at Tampa. And obviously, Buffalo's 2 games they could lose. I mean, Baltimore again. I don't know if Lamar's healthy then yeah, they can absolutely lose on the road to the Ravens. They don't have any business losing to Miami or the Jets at all or the Bengals. But we'll see. Week-to-week league, still a young team. I still don't love the weapons they have around Drake. If they're going to give up 5 sacks to one single player, and I get Myles Garrett's the best player in football defensively, that still can be concerning. So it can happen on any given Sunday, as we know. But right now, they're in prime position to win the AFC East, and I mean potentially, knowing that it's a war out there out west, possibly be the top seed in the AFC. And who would have thought about that going into the season? So if that happens, and certainly, I mean, Drake Maye should be above Josh Allen and above Patrick. But I don't know how you can be the MVP and not win the division over a quarterback who's in your same division. So
yeah, it's crazy, ain't it? It's wild. But one game that we know they're going to win, I think at least, is the next one they play. Don't they play Atlanta next?
Yes.
Yeah, and Atlanta's got a problem. They got 2
Yes.
of them. One of them, they kind of exposed themselves a little bit with all these people talking about, well, maybe a team needs a quarterback. We'll trade for Kirk Cousins. Did you see Kirk Cousins yesterday? You couldn't pay me $10 million to trade for Kirk Cousins. And Atlanta just showed me, man, that as a team, they just ain't ready. They're just not ready. Here's my man, Aaron Freeman. He's going to probably tell you they ain't ready.
Well, that's a wrap on the Falcons 2025 season with a 34-10 loss to the Miami Dolphins. The Falcons now drop to 3-4, and season looks like it's over. It's the second embarrassing loss of this season. If you thought that big win over the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago was the start of something, you were wrong. It was the end. It was the peak of this season. It's been downhill ever since. The Falcons didn't have Michael Penix or Drake London, and they didn't have an offense. They could not run the ball against the NFL's worst run defense. The defense did not play particularly well after, shining bright on those primetime lights against the Bills. They have fallen back down to earth. So the season is officially done. Wait, I'm getting word that, the season's not over. There's 10 more weeks that we have to. Oh, well, if you want to watch the Falcons circle the drain for the next 10 weeks, make sure you follow Locked On Falcons, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Absolutely no excuse to be losing to Tua and McDaniel and Miami, man. They hadn't done anything all year, and then they go up there and punk Atlanta and slap them around right in their own building.
Yeah, what on earth, man? We're talking about Mike McDaniel losing his job. I think we're gonna have to start talking about Raheem Morris losing his job as well. Because when you have a loss like this, I mean, they got embarrassed earlier in the season against Carolina, and then as we just mentioned, they're playing New England next, and they're also going to be playing Indianapolis right after that. So feels like we're getting close to the end of the road there for Raheem in his second opportunity, and what will be his last opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL if this is where things are going to go. And that's damning to have Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and to not be able to run the ball against the Dolphins, who Rico Dowdle a couple weeks ago here in Carolina, the backup, ran for 206 yards on those dudes. So that doesn't make any sense to me how that can be possible. So, yeah, Raheem, I'm worried about you, buddy. I'm worried because it doesn't seem like you're going to be long for this job.
Nah. What do you got, KC in Washington tonight? You think it sounds like a blowout, and that's what I'm probably going to be choosing.
Oh, yeah, turn out the lights for Washington. They're done.
They're done.
I know they've won 2 straight, but like I think
they're probably going to get cooked in this game, man. Jaden Daniels obviously ain't going to play. So look,
or they haven't won. They've lost 2 straight. Excuse me. They've lost 2. Yeah, but I think they're cooked. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably cooked too. I'll tell you what, you're going to find out if they cook because Tyler Rowland going to tell you early in the morning on Locked On NFL. Tune in early in the morning and get hit upside the head like a double shot of espresso as Tyler will give you last night's action and plus any other big stories from the day. And we'll see you again tomorrow here on the Barbershop in the middle of the day with Kevin Ostracker. For my man, Julian Council, I am Tony Wiggins. We don't take y'all for granted. Y'all was right there with us today for 31 and a half minutes, and we appreciate you. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.